Hello, craft friends. Today we begin the collaboration with Kobold Press, crafting scenes from Shadows of the Dusk Queen, a super cool thematic module. So let's hit the table and start crafting that weeping treant.
For this project, we're going to need the super strong crafting clay that I made in DM's Craft number 196. So you'll want to make yourself up a batch of that first before you start this craft. Alright crafters, to build out the bulk of the body I'm going to use aluminum foil. So that's just super simple. Just kind of make it into the general shapes of the tree. So I've got a trunk and two legs. And that's really all you need to do. Now make them a little smaller than you think you might need because the clay is going to bulk this up, right? And the clay will be also super hard, so you really don't need a super strong kind of interior skeleton, you know, like a wire armature or anything. You won't really need that, okay? Also, I'm going to need a couple eyes, so I'm just going to use a couple small beads, and those will be the eyes. I'll just pop those into sculpture when I'm ready. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of glue this in the general shape with my hot glue gun. Glue the foil in the general shape of the sculpture here. Now be careful, the hot glue will actually heat up the aluminum foil, so be careful you don't burn yourself. And I'm just going to need a base, so all I'm going to use is just some regular cardboard and then just glue that to the base and we'll be ready to start this sculpture. Now a big time saver for this project is these tree armatures, right? And these are Woodland Scenics deciduous tree armatures, and they're 3 to 5 inches long, okay? And we're going to use these to, you know, for the branches on the tree and everything, and for the hands, and it's going to save us a lot of sculpting time, a lot of effort. So also there's a lot in the pack, so you'll have a lot extra to use with other crafts. Alright guys, this is it where we get to have fun with the clay, right? These are my sculpting tools. I've got a few beads for the eyes, and there's my armature. And I'm going to use this cold porcelain. You guys are going to get to see how awesome this clay is, right? So I'm going to kind of squish it up and start applying it to the surface, right? And just cover the whole armature. Now I'm not too worried about, you know, it being really smooth because it's a tree, right? I don't have to worry about this. The great thing about this kind of sculpture is, I'm going to push in for the mouth. The great thing about this kind of sculpture is it's not human, right? You don't have to worry too much about proportions. That's what I kind of talk about when I talk about sculpting. Like these kind of things are so much easier than like doing the human figure, because if you don't have the proportions right, people won't realize, or you know, it won't look right. They'll realize immediately that it doesn't look right. With something like this, you don't have to worry about that, right? So you can see I'm really gouging into the surface with these tools. Here I'm adding a little knot in the tree here. And this is just, you know, you don't want to be too easy on it. You want the texture to show. You want this stuff to pop out, right? So don't be too meek when you're like adding the details. I'm really going for like a sad face on this thing. You know, it's a weeping treant, so I want kind of like a tormented, you know, look on this thing. So I'm going to add some texture in the mouth. And like I was saying, yeah, we don't have to worry about proportions so much on this because it's not human, right? People can really pick out human proportions, but on monsters they're so fun because you can really give it any proportion you want. So you really can't do this wrong, right? I'm just trying to go by as much by the photo as I can. And oh, that's really looking great. I'm really loving that. So nice. You guys are going to have a lot of fun with this cold porcelain. Okay, I got the armholes there, and now I'll start adding texture on the back here. And like I say, I'm gouging into the surface, right? I'm not being too meek with it. So just drag that pointy tool. And these are all just plastic tools I bought at the craft store. They're super cheap. And, you know, it shows you don't need, you know, really great sculpting tools to get good results. These are just, you know, cheap sculpting tools. And, yeah, wait till you see when this thing's dry. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. It looks kind of like just a glob now, but with some bumps on it. But, boy, it's going to be cool. So let's move on to the next part of the project. Just going to use some chopsticks for arms. And I'll cut the length off I want. Okay, I'll have that cutting tool in the links below the vid if you want to check it out. Also, I'm going to cut the arm at the elbow, and the forearm is going to be longer than the later part of the arm. I'm also going to cut a piece off this plastic trees I got, and these will be the hands. So it's just a simple way to make hands, right? So just cut a limb off, And I can just bend it up kind of in the shape of a hand that I want, you know, kind of roughly approximating a hand. And then now I need to assemble this. So use my hot glue gun, my Sure Bonder, and then I'll hit that joint there and kind of bend it so it kind of has a bent arm, and I'll do the same with the other arm. So, and you can just let this harden up on your work mat until it's ready. Let that glue harden. And once it does kind of work on the joint, add some to the joint there to make it solid, and then glue the hand to the end there. Let that dry up. Once that dries, we'll just add some more hot glue, and that'll kind of blend it into the chopstick, right? So you don't want it to look like a separate nub on there. You want it to look like a whole piece. Now, just like the body, I'm going to use the armature of the arm to make the arm, right? I'm just going to use my cold porcelain, kind of wrap it around that chopstick there. And, you know, it's a tree limb. You don't have to be super, you know, good at sculpting or anything with this. You just kind of wrap it around and make lumps in it, and you're pretty good, you know. I'm going to do a little kind of branch on the end there, like on the picture, kind of a nub. And I'll just add a little bit of detail by just dragging this pointed tool, you know, on it, and that'll give it like a bark texture. And that's really all there is to this, right? You're not, it's not super hard to sculpt this. You know, that's the nice thing about these kind of monsters. The proportions don't matter so much as they do, like I said, in the humanoid form, in the human form. You can just kind of go have fun and go crazy with it. So just have fun making that texture there. Just scrape it in. And that's all you need to do. And then we'll do the other arm also, of course. And it's all set. Yeah. The picture of the monster had this really cool feature, and it was this fungus growing on it, right? And I thought that was really cool. And I like how it kind of offsets from the kind of drab look of the tree. They really pop out. So I really wanted to do those on the tree. So I'm just using my cold porcelain and just pinching a little bit, pinching little pieces, kind of making different sizes and a little bit different shapes. And I'll let these dry, and these will be my fungus clusters on the monster. So these are going to be super cool. Alright, crafters, I'm going to show you a really unique way to make a cool base for this, right? So we're going to use our cutting board. It's a non-stick plastic cutting board. I'm using some paper towels here. I'm just going to kind of fold it over, wet it down with just some water. This is just a spray bottle with water. And then I'm going to add my construction sand, which is just sand with aggregate in it, and kind of spread it out and wet it. Add some glue to it. Just going to add some glue around to help adhere the paper towel together. Just kind of fold it up like that. And I'm going to add some 50% water, 50% white glue. Let that soak in. And now I'm going to start adding TP on the top. And just kind of smooth out the top. Just add some water to it. Kind of tuck in the sides. And what I'm going for is a nice base here. This is going to be a very nice base because it's going to have weight to it, right? And it's going to be very solid. You'll see when we're done with this. So I'm going to wet that down with water. Just kind of plop it on there. A little bit of a hill there so it's not so flat. And a little more. That'll give a nice solid top on this. And then when that's all down, I'll just hit it with my 50% water, 50% white glue. Let that all soak in. And I'm going to hit it again. You really want to get this saturated with white glue, right? And then we'll let that soak up and dry. We'll let that dry while we're doing the rest of the project. Alright, it's been a few days, and this thing is solid. Now you can see a little bit of the foil coming through, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. And I'm going to use this pin vise, so you can find the link below the video. This is great to have. I'm going to start drilling holes into the head because I'm going to put the branches in there, right? So I'm also going to drill one on the side to have a little branch coming out the side. I thought that'd be fun. And this stuff drills great. This cold porcelain is really easy to drill. So, and the pin vise just works perfectly. So there we go. I'll just fill in the head with holes and we'll be ready to go. I'll also just use the pin vise and the clamp that came with the set to drill the thumb hole for the hand. I found that when I went to put the tree branch in, the peg hole was too small, so I'm going to use my pin vise and widen that a little bit. And I'll just see if that dry fits. So perfect. Now I'll just enlarge the other ones and put those in the head. I'm going to glue these plastic bits on with this fantastic glue that I've recently found called Styro Goo, right? Normally I use E6000, but it can be really gummy and gum up and that kind of thing. This Styro Goo is not as bad as the E6000 about gumming up, and it's just a lot easier to work with, and it glues literally anything, right? So I'm going to use this. I'm actually going to do a video on this soon, but I'm going to use this stuff called Styro Goo, and you can find it in my link below the video. To glue on the fungus patches, I just spread out some Styro Goo on the area that I wanted to add the fungus, and then just, carefully applied it. And this is really great because with E6000 it would tend to gum up. It'd be harder to do that. With the Styro Goo, it worked great. It worked great. I also applied the fungus to the arm, a really nice little touch there. And then I applied all the branches to the top of the tree, and just really super easy with this armature pack, right? Just made this job super simple. Just applied those with the Styro Goo. And if you see right here off to the side, there's a little teeny branch I added. Remember I drilled that hole earlier? A little teeny branch I added just for fun on the side of the tree there. I decided I was going to need some reinforcement when I put the arms on, so I put a pin, which essentially is just like cut some thick wire and then drilled a hole at the end of the arm where it will attach to the body, and then glued that in with my Styro glue. After that dried, I put some Styro glue on that, and then drilled a hole into the body of the Treant, and that's how I'll attach it. So it will be nice and sturdy. It won't just be, this technique helps because it won't be just glued at a joint, and that's kind of the weak point. It'll actually have the strength of the pin going into the body, the aluminum body. So yeah, that'll help give it a lot of stability and keep the arm from breaking off. All right, crafters, here we go. I'm going to use my modeling paste, and I'm going to kind of fill in the gaps between the arms and the body, right? And I could use hot glue to do this, but the modeling paste really holds detail well, particularly like a fur or a kind of a bark texture. And I think this is really going to be nice, okay? So I'm going to fill those gaps in with the modeling paste. And this stuff is nice because it's a little flexible, so if it does, get bent a little bit, it won't crack. That's a really nice thing about this stuff. I'll have linked below in the videos, you can pick it up. So I'm going to blend it into the branches also just with a toothpick. And that'll get a really nice kind of bark texture on there, right? And looking good. I'm also going to add some spots on the tree and just drag the toothpick through those and get some really nice texture, maybe like bark coming off and that peeling and that kind of stuff, old bark. So really, really nice. I also blended the hands in. You can see I blended the hands into the arms, and wow. So we'll let this dry up, and we're going to paint him up, and I can't wait for you guys to see this. How cool this is going to be painted up. It looks just like a bunch of junk glued together and stuck together now, but it's going to be amazing. Like usual, I spray painted the whole thing black first with cheap black spray paint, and then I painted burnt umber onto the tree to give it a nice brown, dark brown look, right? And then I was going to do some varying shades of a lighter brown, so I used a stuff called Mississippi Mud, which gives a really nice kind of muted brown, one of my favorite browns for like old wood like this. And then I hit it with a light gray, and that really gives it kind of an old look. Don't do it too much, just a little bit, just like a light highlight with light gray. And then what I did was I painted the mushrooms, actually mushroom color, right? I found this paint that was actually called mushroom, and that's what I painted the mushrooms, right? Or the fungus on the side of the tree. And it's really nice because it really sets itself off from the rest of the tree, right? I really like that. Then I painted the eyes black with a white dot in the center. I thought that'd be really kind of creepy. And then I added the tears with a metallic black. You can buy this metallic black, and I kind of streamed it down from the eyes there, and I think it gives a really creepy look because it's nice and shiny. It looks like wet sap, like it's supposed to be the monsters like crying or leaking sap from its eyes. I think that's really cool and creepy. Alright, crafters, now that the Treant was finished, I'm going to take it off the cardboard base, and I want to apply it to the regular base, right? Which was what I made. If you remember, I made it out of the paper towels and some sand. I soaked that, and now it's super rock hard, which is really nice. It'll give it a lot of weight, but it'll also be really sturdy. So I'm going to hot glue that on there. Once that sets, I'm going to apply some white glue, and then I'll apply some sand to that, and that'll give a nice texture on the base. Next, I want to add some foliage to the base. So I'm going to use my pencil shavings. I'm going to soak those in white glue. The technique I really like to do. Soak those in white glue and then apply those to the base so I have some nice growth on there. Now the base kind of felt empty to me. I felt like I needed something else. So what I'm going to do is have like a stump on the base, okay? So I got a toilet paper roll with some paper towel wrapped around it with white glue. And then I added a branch from the Armature, just hot glued that on there so that I give a little bit of interest. And then I covered that up with my flexible modeling paste and ran a toothpick through that. That'll give a nice texture on that. So let that dry, and then we'll glue that to the base and we'll be ready for the next step. Alright crafters, we're finally at the home stage of this project. So we're going to paint the base. After that dries, we're going to paint it dark brown. Then I'm going to paint a little bit of a lighter brown in some of the clear areas. Also, I'm going to add a kind of a muted green to the undergrowth because it's a shadow forest. I want to kind of look, muted and deadish. So that's what I was kind of going for. And I painted the stump essentially the same way I did the Treant with the same types of colors. And then I hit the stones with a gray. I kind of dry brushed the foliage on the ground with a tan to kind of make it look deadish since this is like a Shadowlands, right? I thought that'd be really cool. I then hit the stones with a little bit of light gray as a highlight, and then after that all dried, I hit it with a wash, and you can see it really brings out the detail in the space. So after this dried, it's all ready to go. So I'm going to go to my table and show you how cool this weeping treant looks. The dark trees divide, showing you a path. Something large lumbers out, blocking your way. It wails in sorrow. You see thick black sap running from its eyes. What do you do? Alright, craft friends, let's take a little look at the finished sculpture and recap some of the techniques we used, right? So first we used some aluminum foil for the armature, and that really works great because the cold porcelain is so hard that you don't have to worry about the strength of the sculpture, right? Also, the tree armatures really help because I didn't have to sculpt all that stuff. I could just use it, and I got a lot of armatures with the pack, so I can just, use those for other projects. Another technique I like to do is for beads for eyes. That saves you having to sculpt, round orbs. You can just pop beads into the sculpture and you're good to go. Also, sculpting the parts separately, like the arms and the fungus, that kept the sculpture from becoming awkward as I sculpted it. And, I didn't, you're kind of limited time because the cold porcelain is drying, but with this, you don't have to worry about that, right? Then I applied the modeling paste. That not only covered the gap between the arms and the body, but it also gave me some really nice texture on the model itself, right? Also, the base of the miniature, I'm sure a lot of guys haven't seen me do this before, but I'll take paper towels or toilet paper and put sand in it and soak it in white glue, and you get like a really hard base. Also, a little bit of weighted base so that your miniature won't fall over. Another thing I did in this project that I like to do is the flocking that won't come off, right? I hate flocking that comes off all over the table in your boxes. This kind of flocking that's soaked in glue, the pencil shavings, won't come off your sculpture, so super nice, and you don't have to worry about that. You also notice the stump detail I did on the back was just a toilet paper roll wrapped in paper towels and then soaked in white glue, and then I added some modeling paste for some detail in that little branch, and that was it. But it added a lot to the base. It just didn't make it an empty base. It added something else to the base. So I hope you guys really like this build, and I've got more coming up with Shadows of the Dusk Queen, so stay tuned. Hey craft game friends, I hope you really enjoyed this build of this encounter from Shadows of the Dusk Queen, this weeping treant. And I really want to thank Kobold Press for sponsoring this video, and because I just love the module and I was just so happy to team up with them. Also, you're going to want to check out their website because they have amazing materials for gamers like you and I. Make sure to like and share the video so we can introduce as many people as we can to the wonderful world of game crafting. Make sure to leave any questions or comments below the video. I read all the comments and answer all the questions. So yeah, make sure to do that if you have any questions about techniques or anything about the video, or just want to make a comment. Also, wait, one last word from me. Hey craft friends, I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like. Also check out my Patreon. That goes a long way to helping me support this channel. I buy new equipment with it. I bought new equipment and I buy supplies and all that kind of stuff, and it really helps me be the best I can making videos for you guys, and that is so appreciated, you guys that have joined the Patreon and supported the channel. Now there's just some small levels. $1 level a month is just you get extra content that I put on my Patreon from DN Scotty. Also, if you do the $5 level, you get your name in a video. So thank you so much for that support. I really appreciate it. There's also another way you can help support the channel, and that's using my affiliated links. And how that works is when you go through a link and buy something that I suggest for the craft, then I get a little bit of a kickback, and there's no extra cost to you guys. So if you just go to those links and purchase stuff through those links, and maybe stuff you're going to buy anyway, you don't even have to buy the thing that's on the link. You can go there and then buy something else. I get a little bit of kickback on it, and that goes a long way to supporting the channel too. And thank you everybody that's done that. I appreciate you guys, and have fun crafting. Go forth and craft.